My brother abandoned my 17-year-old daughter 3,000 miles away, so I legally destroyed his life. We're taught that family is everything, but what happens when your own brother and his wife use your child as a weapon? Just 3 days into a family holiday, my 17-year-old daughter Isla was thousands of miles from our home in Scotland, completely alone, without a ticket or a phone. This wasn't an oversight. It was a calculated act of cruelty driven by spiteful jealousy. I'm an accountant. I don't deal in shouting. I deal in facts, timestamps, and legal documents. The moment I got Isla safe, I made a promise. I would use every piece of evidence to legally and financially dismantle their lives. Get comfortable, because you need to hear every unforgivable detail of how I taught my family a lesson in true consequence. Then left my 17-year-old lass Isla thousands of miles from Cairngorm, Scotland, claiming they meant to teach her a lesson in self-reliance. So I taught the black sheep of the family what true consequence looks like by building a legal case that left my brother Hamish and his wife Fiona financially broken and irrevocably cut from the McPherson clan forever. What started as a simple holiday showed me the corrosive power of envy and proved that blood ties aren't a guarantee of loyalty. Isla was buzzing about the trip to Malta. But 3 days after they left, while I was working late as an accountant in Edinburgh, I received a terrifying call. Between sobs, Isla explained that Fiona had taken her mobile phone, cancelled her return flight, and that Hamish had left her stranded outside the hotel in a foreign country. Keeping my tone level while my insides burned, I secured her on the next available flight to Glasgow, arranged an airport chaperone immediately, and left work, knowing this wasn't mere neglect, but deliberate, calculated malice. The drive to the airport was agonizing, but my years of managing high-stakes finance taught me to keep a steady hand when the market is crashing. And my anger refined into a cold, precise plan, repeating the phrase, "That's not a mistake, that's a criminal act." After 3 hours of waiting, Isla walked out of the gate like a shadow, and as her composure shattered, she ran into my arms. I simply wrapped her up, held her tight, and said, "You're safe now. Da's got you." I know how trauma works. You let the quiet do the heavy lifting first. Halfway down the highway back home, Isla finally spoke, her voice thin, explaining that the moment they landed, Fiona took her mobile phone for the entire week to teach her self-control, and it was Fiona who'd been answering my messages, only giving Isla the phone when I called. I knew Hamish was spineless and simply nodded along, never arguing with his wife. Isla was picked at all week, enduring snide remarks from Fiona about her being praised by Grandpa Alistair and not having a proper mother. When it was time to leave, Fiona falsely claimed Isla's ticket had been messed up and told her to wait with the luggage, promising that Hamish would return after dropping the others at the airport. He didn't. Isla waited 3 hours, only to be told by the hotel that the room was cancelled and her name wasn't listed, confirming they had lied to her. She later found out Fiona had told everyone she wanted to stay a few extra days to be independent. When we arrived at her flat, I reassured a tearful Isla. "You did everything right, Isla. You stayed safe. I'm proud of you. You never have to apologise for needing me. Never." I made her a simple meal and began quietly cataloguing every detail, times, names, and Fiona's cruel comments, realising it wasn't a screw-up, it was a strategy. That night, running on pure focus like a 24-hour tax season shift, I began my accounting investigation. Step 1, gather the figures. Step 2, confirm the source. Step 3, remove the liability. My first call to the airline confirmed Isla's return ticket was manually cancelled 4 days ago by Fiona Wallace, who also processed a refund back to her own card, proving the cancellation was financially motivated. My second call to the hotel confirmed Isla's room was checked out at the family's request. As I worked, I muttered, "They treated her like she didn't matter. They're about to find out she does." I asked who made that request. The manager paused. "Sir, Fiona Wallace. She said your daughter had altered her travel plans." I thanked them and hung up. My screen was filling up with notes, call logs and timestamps, which was clean, unemotional and precise surgical work. Next, I called the family's travel agent, Elspeth, who quickly confirmed that Fiona Wallace had handled the cancellation via email, and because the booking was in Fiona's name, she didn't think twice about it. Every piece lined up perfectly. Fiona cancelled the flight, checked out the room, and manipulated the travel agent to cover her tracks, confirming that she planned it. I started gathering all the evidence, screenshots, the hotel invoice, airline notes in an encrypted folder, treating it like a case to dissect a financial fraud. Around 9 a.m., my sister Fiona called, and after I gave her a short clinical account, she was furious. But I told her to keep quiet, as Hamish had lied to our parents, claiming Isla stayed longer with friends, and I wanted every fact written down first, knowing that evidence doesn't lie, even when family does. I then called Hamish, who sounded relaxed, but when I confronted him about leaving Isla stranded, he gave a fake, nervous chuckle before trying to blame Fiona, claiming she said Isla wanted to stay on. But I cut him off, stating, "I've got the airline logs, hotel records and travel agent emails. Fiona didn't handle it, she planned it." When he tried a weak defense about the system messing up, I ended the call and opened an incident report, typing every detail Isla and the others had provided, which made me feel calmer as I was preparing the case. By the afternoon, I had a file thick enough for an easy victory, which I sent to my solicitor friend Douglas, asking him to pursue a legal civil case for the endangerment of a minor. For the first time, I allowed myself a grim smile, knowing Hamish and Fiona had forgotten who Isla's father was. The next morning, a Saturday, I drove Isla to the clan's regular get-together at my parents' house near Pitlochry, telling her, "We're going to see Granny and Grandpa today. You don't have to say a thing, just stay by my side," before assuring her that Hamish and Fiona are going to answer for what they did. The man couldn't look guilty if he tried. Inside, my parents were at the kitchen table. Fiona was helping Mum set the plates, and Hamish and Fiona was sitting there like guests of honour, laughing at a joke. The moment I walked into my parents' kitchen, dropping the thick folder onto the table, the room went silent. Hamish's smile vanished, and Fiona's eyes darted. I sat down across from them, slid out the printed pages of flight confirmations, hotel checkout records and email chains, all bearing Fiona Wallace's name, and stated, "This is the paper trail, proving my daughter's flight was cancelled manually by your wife. Her hotel room was checked out early, also by your wife, and all of it was approved by you." When Fiona tried to claim administrative error, I cut her and Hamish off sharply, declaring, "Don't insult my intelligence with that stressful morning lie. You both left a 17-year-old girl in a foreign country. That's not stress, that's a crime." Fiona's mask finally cracked when she spat. "Maybe if your daughter wasn't everyone's favourite, people wouldn't be so sick of her." My father, Alistair McPherson, exploded, slamming his hand on the table and shouting, "Shut your mouth!" demanding to know if she left his granddaughter stranded out of jealousy. I stayed seated and composed, saying, "You tormented a child because you couldn't handle her being loved," and then told Hamish, "You're her legal guardian on that trip, Hamish, and you failed in your duty." I stood up, collected the papers, and told Hamish, "We are done. You'll be hearing from my solicitor." As Isla and I walked out, Fiona wailed, "You're ruining this family."
But my father's voice followed us, low and final. "No, you did. You're no daughter-in-law of mine, and Hamish, you're no son of mine." Once outside, I called my solicitor, Douglas, and told him it's done, starting the legal process. And as I drove away, I saw my father's face etched with grim resolution, knowing that what followed was no longer a family squabble, it was a legal matter. 3 days later, the doorbell rang just after dinner, and I saw a defeated-looking Fiona alone on the camera. I opened the door just enough, and when she asked to talk, I crossed my arms and simply said, "I don't think there's anything left to say." "Please," she said, her eyes darting like a trapped animal. "Just 5 minutes. I need to explain." I did not answer Fiona, but simply stepped aside, letting silence be more damning than shouting. Once in the living room, her composure failed, and she blurted, "I messed up, all right? I didn't mean for things to get so out of hand." I calmly stated, "You cancelled her ticket, took her mobile and left her in another country. That's not an accident. That's a conscious decision." She began pacing, admitting her motivation was pure miserable jealousy. She was tired of everyone comparing her children to my perfect Isla, and tired of Grandpa Alistair always praising her. She confessed that Hamish had agreed that my daughter always gets the sympathy vote, and when she stopped mid-sentence, realising the gravity of her admission, I revealed my phone on the coffee table was recording. Her face drained as I confirmed, I like keeping receipts." She screamed and lunged for the phone, but I picked it up, telling her, "You already did ruin their family." Dropping to her knees and sobbing, she begged, claiming she didn't mean to hurt Isla, but I stared her down and said, "I don't know how it feels to be jealous of a child. That's because I'm not pathetic." This flipped a switch. Her sorrow turned to spite, and she yelled, "You think you're perfect, don't you? This is your fault." I leaned forward and delivered my final word. "You left a child stranded overseas. You ruined your own life. Don't ever show up at my door again." After she ran out, I let out a slow breath, saved the recording as confession, Wallace, and sent the file immediately to Douglas, my solicitor, and my father, with the subject line, "Proof." 15 minutes later, my father called, his voice shaking with cold, hard fury, and he asked me to send him everything, saying, "I've never been more sure of anything." I knew I wasn't the kind of man who shouts. I built cases. By Monday morning, Douglas had filed the civil lawsuit for negligence and severe emotional distress. Months later, in the courtroom in Aberdeen, the airline representative took the stand and testified. The return ticket for passenger Isla McPherson was cancelled manually by Fiona Wallace. The refund was processed to the same card used for the original payment. Fiona's eyes darted in panic as the hotel manager took the stand next and confirmed the early checkout for the family suite was requested by Fiona Wallace. He said she told our staff the teenager in their group decided to stay behind with friends. We have her email confirming that statement. Douglas handed the printout of the evidence to the sheriff, a gesture more damning than any speech, and when Hamish took his turn, he claimed he hadn't known Fiona cancel the ticket, but he froze when Douglas presented emails with his digital signature approving the cancellations and hotel changes. The turning point was the playing of the audio recording, which echoed Fiona's voice, filled with bitter envy. "She doesn't even have a mother, yet everyone treats her like she's special. My kids get nothing." The sheriff's face shifted to one of utter distaste, and after Fiona failed to stage a breakdown, my father, Grandpa Alistair, took the stand, his voice firm with resolute anger, and testified, "My granddaughter was abandoned by her own family. That's not family, that's pure spite." The sheriff ruled them liable, ordering damages for emotional distress and full reimbursement of legal fees, formally describing their conduct as gross neglect and emotional abuse. It was a settlement of accounts, not a victory. Outside, Grandpa Alistair handed me a folder, saying, "The family trusts are being rewritten.
they're out. Over the next few days, the fallout was swift. Fiona's reputation collapsed, and Hamish's career took a hit, leading to administrative leave, pending an ethics review, as the court findings were public knowledge. I didn't gloat, but simply went home to Isla and helped her plan for her future, telling her, "This wasn't about feeling better. It's not revenge, Isla. It's correction." Months later, the lawsuit wrapped up. Hamish and Fiona Wallace were liable for negligence and the intentional infliction of emotional distress, ordered into mandatory counselling, fined heavily, and restricted from unsupervised travel with minors for 5 years for a deliberate action meant to humiliate and isolate a minor. Hamish was ultimately terminated for professional misconduct, and Grandpa Alistair finalised the will revisions, formally disinheriting them from the McPherson family trusts and estate, ensuring that while they were cut out, the cousins were not punished and remained part of the family structure. They started spending Saturdays at his house, quiet visits with no mention of their parents. Isla joined them sometimes, helping them with their schoolwork or simply spending time together. It was awkward at first, but kids are more resilient than adults give them credit for. One evening, after dropping Isla off at my father's, I went inside and found him at the kitchen table, telling him, "You look tired, Da," to which he replied, "Tired's my new normal," before confessing, "I never thought I'd see the day my own son's name would be crossed off my will," and I simply affirmed, "You did what you had to." The house felt much lighter without Hamish's endless complaining or Fiona's brittle fake laughter, and family dinners were finally peaceful, with Isla handling the aftermath better than anyone, showing no bitterness but steady focus. When she received her acceptance letter for a summer psychology program, she told me, "Maybe I can help the kids who think nobody's listening to them." And I proudly said, "You already are." I stayed busy, juggling client work, court paperwork, and helping my father manage the cousins' trust funds. And sometimes when I drove past Hamish's old office, I couldn't help but think, good, actions have weight. Douglas eventually called to say the case had been officially closed, and I told him, "Good, let's keep it that way." Later, Isla joined me in the sitting room and said, "You didn't just protect me, Da. You made them face the consequences." And I gave her a small smile, saying, "That's what a good family's supposed to do, lass." She leaned her head on my shoulder, concluding, "We're a pretty good team, eh?" And I agreed, "The very best." The names Hamish and Fiona Wallace eventually faded into distant whispers, but the balance was finally restored in our small, quiet world. You can't choose your blood relations, but you can choose who stays in your family. And mine, it finally felt clean again. And that's the whole story. I know it's a lot to process, but I felt it was crucial to show that not all family battles end with a hug. Sometimes the only way to protect the ones you love is to fight smart and fight hard. If this story resonated with you, if you've ever had to draw a hard line for your family, let me know in the comments. Hit that like button if you think actions should always have consequences. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next time I share an outrageous story. Thanks for watching.